Ladies and gents, freaks and geeks, beautiful brothers and sisters around the world, it is yours truly, Chris Shuley, esoteric Noetic. You can call me Noetic. You can call me Chocolate Noobs. You can call me the Wisdomatic Truth Bomber. You can call me the host of Melbourne's most conscious comedy podcast, The Crucial Journey. Or you can just tune in, buckle up, bitches, because this shit is about to get heavy. We are going to tackle some very taboo topics. We're going to speak about we're going to speak about a team that you can't even speak about because it is so secretive that if you speak about them in the wrong way, you'll get canceled. But I think you know what team I'm going to talk about. And I thought it would make a reaction video to a video I came across where Sneako is speaking about that team that shall not be mentioned. Anyway, I don't know too much what this video is going to be about, but no doubt we're going to be tackling some very controversial topics. So buckle up. This shit is about to get real. And let's hear what Sneako, someone that definitely is not on team, has to say about it. This rebellious, recalcitrant fool. All right. Let's rock it. Boom.
Well, speaking of morons, there's also Sneako, the newly minted Muslim who spends his days online ranting about, wait for it, the Jews.
Your rhetoric is stuck in 2016. This moral policing does not work anymore. Nobody cares about being called anti-Semitic. And the truth is now, if you are not accused of anti-Semitism, you're just not telling the truth.
Dude, there's
a lot of truth to that, right? Like, you keep on using a word over and over again and it loses the effect. It's kind of like saying ninja, right? It's like, that used to be a word of massive insult back in the 60s. Maybe the 70s, and now it's kind of like just, it's kind of cool, Now white people are using that shit. It just doesn't have the same effect.
Go Cole, it's just insane. It's actually crazy. He's just on this generational run of Cole.
What happened to Goyim uniting? There's no point in me responding at the same level that Nick is making fun of me here because I know what they're going to do. I have a majority Christian audience. If I respond the same way, they're going to be like, oh, you're attacking Christians, you're attacking white people, you're attacking... Yeah, okay, there's no point. I just got to stay true to the message.
Absolutely. One of the things you will learn if you are speaking about any issue that is taboo is that you're always going to piss someone off. You cannot play this game where you are constantly bending the truth in order to suit the masses because ultimately there are always going to be people that hate you. You say one thing and the Jews will hate you. You say other things and the blacks will hate you. If you try to be super sweet and sensitive, the Manosphere will hate you. If you're too strong, the fourth wave feminists will hate you. You just have to stick to your guns and speak your mind, and you will attract your tribe. And you shouldn't even be speaking for the purpose of attracting your tribe. I actually had this conversation with a guy a while back that was saying, I was trying to make this argument that you're not going to be able to influence people if you say things like this and you speak in this way and you have these positions. You got to be open to different perspectives of the truth because the truth is more flexible. And I'm like, what? Have you not met me? I am acting territorially. I'm not. Granted, there are times I'll say stuff because I'm trying to get laid. I'm going to be real. But no, I'm speak. Anytime I speak about this kind of stuff, I'm speaking because I'm speaking what I actually believe. I'm not speaking from the perspective of trying to influence lots of people like a politician. I'm speaking territorially, meaning, as Krishna once said, in the Bhagavad Gita, that you were entitled to your labor, not the fruits of your labor. You're entitled to do what you do because it is what you must do. You're entitled to focus on your passion. You're entitled to speak the truth, but you're not entitled to a particular result that comes from that. And if you're attached to this result of needing to influence people in order to achieve your ends, you will just get twisted in the game, ladies and gents. You cannot win that game because you're never going to please everyone. You kind of just have to stick and speak emotionally, speak from a place of paratelic awareness, and the truth will reveal itself. But if you are constantly caught up in how people are going to receive the truth, that is not going to get you to the truth, ladies and gentlemen, and it's only going to ensure that you cannot win. Anyway, I respect Sneako because I find he is someone that does that. He is someone that is obviously not so caught up in trying to please everyone. He's been canceled many times, and it's so refreshing to listen to people that just speak their mind. I may disagree with you emphatically. I may think you are someone that has moral turpitude, but if you were someone that has balls, and if you were someone that can actually speak authentically about what you believe, it puts you leagues above everyone else, and you're someone that I can actually sit and you'll be someone that I can actually sit and have a conversation with. And I hope, at the very least, the people that actually watch my content, they get that sense that, look, when I am bullshitting, it's very, very clear. I know that I'm bullshitting, and I hope that you know that I am. And when I'm not, I hope that you know that I am absolutely not. And that is the theme that I am trying to perpetuate, if anything. You know, as I often say, there are three things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Satya Agraha, the truth force. It does not break, it does not shake, it does not bend in order to suit someone's agenda. It simply is. It is that which it is. Boom! Damn, I say some wisdomatic shit.
I'm here to unite Goyim. All right, Ben Shapiro. Well, we'll get into the news. Let's cover some of this Goy slop. Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh's boss, had something to say about me.
For morons. Well, speaking of morons, there's also Sneako, the newly minted Muslim who spends his days online ranting about, wait for it, the Jews. Well, here's some of his genius-level commentary, the kind of stuff that we need young men imbibing.
But why is it every single magazine cover you see a celebrity doing this pose exactly, covering one eye?
Are you for real?
I am for real.
Who do you think's behind it?
The Satanists. They're pledging allegiance to Satan.
Do you think Satanists are running the world?
Absolutely.
What's going on here? Yeah, ladies and gents, I watched the Louis Theroux documentary, and it was some good shit. It was some good shit. And yeah, I do remember that scene. So basically, Sneako is saying that a lot of the imagery that you see is symbolic. It's actually representing Satanism. And, you know, a little bit of knowledge, Here's the thing. Most Christians, most people who come from this Judeo-Christian understanding of the world, they will look at any kind of esoteric occult artwork and they will immediately assume it's satanic. And from their worldview, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because anything that is a cult that is not in line with the fundamentalist Christian or Judeo-Christian worldview, Islam, or whatever it might be, is considered satanic. But if you actually look at this stuff with learned eyes, you realize that a lot of this symbology is in reference to Luciferianism, which I always make clear to state to people is very different from Satanism, right? Like, Luciferianism is the idea of light, of knowledge. Lucifer was a light bringer. You know, now from a Christian fundamentalist worldview, it's all evil, but ultimately, we're talking about esoteric knowledge. In fact, all of this knowledge relating to the Judeo-Christian religion, it ties to the occult traditions. It comes from the mysteries. It predates the mysteries predates all of the Judeo-Christian theology. That's for sure. I mean, this goes back to the land of Chem, ancient Egypt. We are speaking about the realm of divination here. We're talking about astrotheology. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that when Sneako's making reference to the eye here, let me see if I can get another picture of this shit. Hold up, ladies and gents. Damn. Yeah, so
Ben.
Yeah, so let me just back up here a little.
For real.
Who do you think's behind
Yeah, so when he's making reference to the eye, let me get this over here. Yes, it's actually in reference to a Luciferian idea, but it's not satanic. I mean, this can go back to the story of Odin that sacrificed one of his eyes, his left eye, right, which represents the logical understanding of the physical world, sacrificed this in order to gain greater insight. When you're seeing it, symbology like this, now granted, it's considered to be satanic, but it's wisdomatic, ladies and gents, occult. It's actually in reference, I mean, if you'd ask me, to the idea of actually sacrificing the logical understanding of the world. So the physical world for the higher spiritual understanding. This is the story of Odin, how basically he had one eye, sacrificed his left eye in order to great spiritual insight. And that's basically what you're seeing here. If anything, it's a spiritual idea. It's highly spiritual. But anything that is not in line with the Judeo-Christian faith, I think a lot of these people tend to brand as being satanic. When, you know, a lot of the times there is symbology with this artwork, and it's of an occult nature, and, you know, sometimes the artists are not aware of it, but it's not in the pernicious understanding that I think, people like Sneako make it out to be.
The Satanists. They're pledging allegiance to Satan.
Do you think Satanists are running the world?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and let's be very clear about this. Yeah, but by Satanism, like the actual ideology of Satanism revolves around the ego, revolves around doing everything for yourself. If you were truly someone that is concerned only about yourself, that is the philosophy of Satanism. This is by Anton LaVey. But I would imagine most Christians have this idea that Satanism is just anything that doesn't fit within their Judeo-Christian understanding. And because I think a lot of the people that talk about this kind of stuff, they don't really look at any other spiritual ideologies outside of the Judeo-Christian ideology. They think anything that is outside of that must be satanic. No. A little bit of truth, ladies and gents. A little bit of truth will get you into trouble. But make no mistake about it. Yes, there are a lot of Satanists running the world. A lot of people that are concerned about how to maximize their profit, trying to exploit people, destroy them, violate their rights. However, they're not inherently evil just because they are using esoteric symbology. What makes them evil is their actions, what they're actually doing. And I always make a distinction between that. It's so easy to call names, to put down religions, religious faiths, but if you're trying to speak with authenticity and truth, it's important to pay attention to words, meanings, labels, and so forth.
Ben, I said Satanists are controlling the world, and you said, and he says, he's a Jew hater and says Jews control the world. I think he just showed what you really...
Yeah, that's a fair point, because look, but I think it's a fair implication that he was trying to read the meta understanding of what you're saying here and just tying it to, because you do often speak about the Jews and whatnot, but it's obvious. The thing is, this is not about a particular race of people. Now, granted, you can say that these people have been kicked out of so many parts of the world for a reason. That caused up a lot of trouble, and we can you can enter that whole conversation. But I think that's a pointless game, because if we go back far enough in time, every race, every nation has been caught up in doing despicable things. I don't want to play the my shit doesn't stink thing, and I don't even identify with this whole idea of race, of nationality. I think it's a completely flawed concept. But that being said, this thing is about people, individuals. This is about ideologies. This is about real Satanism. This is not about a group of people per se. And granted, we can generalize and say, yeah, there's a lot of evil that's coming about from people that are typically found within a particular group. But I think that's too sketchy when you start speaking in those terms. And I don't want to play that game, ladies and gents. It's a messy game when you start targeting groups of people.
Think, huh? If I say Baal worshippers and Satanists control the world, and you say that's anti-Semitic, I think you're the anti-Semitic one, right? You're insinuating that this control is predominantly Jewish and not satanic. I never even said Jew in that statement of the documentary. Louis Theroux and Ben Shapiro made that mistake. Why are they thinking?
That's a salient point, man. Like, people will always people have this mentality of seeing anything and everything as an attack on them. They're always trying to see meta reason. And it's really depressing, because a lot of the times, and this is the thing, that these are the kind of people that take offense to everything and assume that you are attacking them. I had so many issues with people like that. You say something, and they're just, it's almost like it's a reflection of what's going on in their consciousness. They know that they're fucked up. They know that they, or let's say their group is understandably involved in some shit, so they stop projecting. That's the word I'm looking for, right? Projecting, and they start assuming that this is what you meant when you didn't actually mean any of that. And I've been in so many situations like that. When you're trying to be nice to someone, you're trying to be lighthearted and smile, and then they just take something that you've said as that is supposed to be innocuous, that is not even in any way, shape, or form considered to be an offense, and they've taken that as an offense. And as we all know, offense is taken. It's what's the phrase? Offense is never given; it's taken, right? And that's the idea. People are always taking offense to things that are innocuous. And if we play this game where someone is mentally fragile, they will see anything as an offense. What you're wearing is an offense. I don't like your skin color. I feel like you being a melanated person is representing that black people have been through oppression, and now I have to pay you reparations. I don't like you being black. It's like, what? I wasn't showing my skin in order to offend you or to imply that. Yeah, but I kind of feel you were. This is the insanity that you get caught up with within so much of the modern worldview when it comes to social justice, right? It's like, it's all about my feels. It's all about how I feel. You've offended me. I'm offended by the fact that you're black. I'm offended by the fact that you're talking about Satan worshippers. How dare you? And this is essentially what Ben Shapiro is falling into.
that a satanic control is a Jewish control? Why is that anti-Semitic to say Satanists control the world? Stupid Ben. Oh, Ben. And Ben, you're losing a lot of subscribers every day. I've been going at your Goy slave Matt Walsh for a long time. He's saying that I'm, he gets so many things wrong. I want to debate him. Can you give permission to Matt Walsh to debate me? Give him your permission slip. Second, if you want to be an influential political commentator going forward, you got to drop this whole victim. Man, it's anti-Semitic. The more you keep doing this and kvetching about these Jew haters, Americans know that we're fighting a war for the Jewish state of Israel right now. We know. It's not working on people. You're losing subscribers because people are sick of being labeled with these isms to prevent conversation.
I agree with that. Highly subjective, but it is my feeling that a huge base of United States citizens and generally people around the world realize that the United States is acting as the doormat of, well, I think we know what we're talking. I'll just say it. I'm just going to say it. Team Israel here, and if you are America first, and I'm certainly not American first. Don't get this twisted. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the government, the empire of the United States can go to. But if you truly are interested in America first, like people like Nick Fuentes, I understand the mentality that he has. He purely wants what's best in the interests of what's best for the United States of America. Now, purely from a utilitarian perspective, I just don't see that as being an intelligent thing to be doing right now. Like, I see the United States as moving into a very dangerous area where it's doing the dirty work of of Team Israel. And, granted, you can make the argument that Israel is our greatest ally and so forth. I mean, if you have a friend that is constantly getting you into fights, at some point you got to ditch a friend like that. I always I hate thinking like this because when I like someone, I just like them because intrinsically I like being around them. But, I'm getting older. I'm getting into my king phase now, and I'm always weary about people I hang out with. If I'm hanging out with someone that is constantly getting into trouble because they're being abrasive, ridiculous, and angry, want to start fights, I don't hang out with people like that. A few years ago, not even that long ago, I would have been like, I don't care. I like hanging out with stupid, crazy people, but I don't hang out with people like that anymore because they're going to get you into trouble. And essentially, the United States has gotten itself into one of the biggest scuffles, we've seen in a long time. And it's been happening, well, actually, when I say a long time, it's been happening quite frequently, I think. I think the United States has been getting itself involved in wars that don't serve it. Now, I would make the argument it shouldn't be getting itself involved in these wars at all. They're not in any way, shape, or form just. But if you're thinking purely in terms of what's best for the United States of America, I think it's also clear to make the argument that it doesn't seem like a wise thing what the U.S. is doing right now. It's costing billions of dollars. I think it's several billions of dollars every day the United States is spending on this war, right? And then you think about, and I guess a lot of people don't think, politicians don't seem to be that concerned about this, because it's Team America, fuck yeah. But you think about the international relationships. America is so hated right now. I mean, the American citizens are obviously going to feel a backlash of going overseas and then being hated so much. And I would think that is the kind of thing that would really be on the forefront of a nation, how other countries are going to view it because of its behavior. And look, if I apply this on a more kind of microcosmic level, I'm the kind of person, I'm base. I am who I am, and I'm going to do what I do because I believe it's right. And then secondly, I'll be weary of how my actions affect other people in terms of when I'm doing something that I believe is right, how it's going to impact people and how they feel about me. I care about that kind of shit, right? But it's not going to stop me from doing what I think is right. I think the problem with America on a larger political scale is it's doing shit that it just knows is fucking wrong, but it's doing this in the interest of what it thinks it's going to serve itself in the long run. And from the perspective of what's best for America, I don't think it's serving that. I think people are only inevitably going to have more hatred towards the United States of America, and then you have no right to be acting in a place of principle because your behavior is not consistent with the principles in the United States. The United States, need I remind people, was formed on this idea of non-interventionism. It would not get itself involved in other scuffles. And people always play this morally relativistic game where they say, oh, well, it's our responsibility to defend, people abroad. It's your responsibility to go and drop bombs on people because they're doing things that you don't agree with when your shit don't stink. Is that what you're saying? When there's so many problems? I mean, if anything, I think Iran needs to free the United States from all the tyranny that is going on in the United States. It's been ruled by this totalitarian archon that doesn't seem to care about the Constitution, doesn't care about rights, is only limited by his own sense of morality, which is essentially nothing, and has been essentially just getting his Gestapo to catch people on the streets and pull them into detention centers, right? I mean, if anything, the United States is the country that needs to be freed.
From happening. You cannot constantly be on this moral high ground while running cover for Epstein, saying that the files don't exist, and then when they do exist, you blame it all on Steve Bannon. Allegedly. You can't do that and still think that you're going to be successful. So my advice is to change up your rhetoric.
My advice is just not to be so full of bullshit. I mean, this is the problem with people like that. They think they're so intelligent that they can pull the wool over people's eyes with their bullshit, and they spew it over and over and over again, thinking people aren't going to catch on. But you speak that level of shit, and people are, even if people can't consciously see what you're doing, they can feel you're speaking bullshit, and that's enough. Like everyone, you may not have IQ, but you have EQ. You either have one or the other, right? And on some level, whether it's through conscious logical reasoning or just through your intuitive faculties, your innate gnosis, you know when someone is speaking complete horseshit, and they can only do it so much until you're like, I don't want to listen to anything this person has to say. And this is what is happening to figures. People like Trump, people like Shapiro, that are just making the most asinine arguments. Well, I don't even want to use the word asinine because, I mean, evil is not stupid. It knows what it's doing. It's just the moral turpitude, right, of the argumentation. This is the real issue. And but the issue, the added issue is they keep on justifying the brutality of their governments and then expecting people to be cool with it. They keep on making these distractive arguments. They know there's nothing going on here. This is a just war, or there's no wrongdoing in these files whatsoever. There's no information on Donald Trump whatsoever. When I think most people know what's up. At least be honest about it. If you can't call out bullshit, then no one's going to trust you. And this is when you lose all your political influence. And this is what's happening to Trump at the moment. I mean, and I'm surprised this actually works on people. I mean, Trump is noted to have said on many occasions that you tell a lie that is big enough, you keep on repeating the lie, right? I think Hitler said something to this effect as well. And people will believe it. You just keep on speaking horseshit. And the thing is, some people are that jaded that they will continue to believe what you're saying, even when it's ridiculous. No, look, this is, we're going into Iran here because we're trying to free the free world. And, Iran has these weapons of mass destruction, or whatever the bullshit is. And you just keep on coming up with the most asinine arguments. But I think eventually people are going to stop buying into the shit that you're saying.
You're going to be lapped and humiliated by Candace Owens even more than you are right now. What is she, one of the number one podcasters in the world right now? Ever since she left Israeli Wire, she's killing you. She's destroying you. Ben Shapiro is spending millions of dollars on an ad campaign. He's buying YouTube ads. He's buying Times Square ads, trying to look cool with his beard and his glasses, trying to lean into the masculinity thing. It's not working. Your rhetoric is stuck in...
Ben Shapiro is trying to lean into the masculinity thing? Okay. I definitely haven't seen Ben as being any... I don't think those people view Ben as being any kind of masculine figure, and I don't think that's really his base. I think he's supposed to be the voice of, like, reason and logic, right? But there's only so much bullshit you can spew until people are like, you're the voice of shit, not reason and logic.
2016. This moral policing does not work anymore. Nobody cares about being called anti-Semitic. And the truth is now, if you are not accused of anti-Semitism, you're just not telling the truth.
I don't really care personally because I think And look, I will acknowledge this. Maybe I'm completely out of line here. Let me know if I am, all right? I just presume most people that look at me are going to think, oh, he's probably like a drop-dead father. Drop-dead. But they won't go with the antiseptic angle. You know, I mean, I could play it. But, I mean, I could be a Jew. They're black Jews, right? Lenny Kravitz is a black Jew. There are lots of famous. I feel as if it just doesn't work for me. So I just never feared being called antiseptic. I've never really cared about it. Maybe I should. Maybe I need more Jewish friends. Apparently it helps you when you have these connections. But, you know, granted, I would like that. I would like that, but it's not something I fear. What would I fear? Fear itself? No, seriously. You know, that's one of the. Oh, actually, homophobic, because I kind of am a little, just probably on the level of who was that guy that did that interview recently? Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. Probably not on that level. I'd say Shia LaBeouf is probably like 89, 90% homophobic. I'm kind of like maybe like 2% homophobic, just a little, you know. And I probably fear being called that a little because it's kind of just a little bit true. And I also hate being called transphobe. Actually, no, I don't care about that. I think it's quite funny. But I act as if I care because I don't want to get in trouble with the Alphabet crew. But I don't think I really care about these attacks. I really don't. You know, name calling is just something that never really stuck to me. I mean, if you really want to get to me, you should attack my art. You should attack my art because that's something I am very sensitive about. But in terms of attacking me based on my group, I don't identify with groups. I know I manifest as a black man. You know, I have a big dick and you know I can move and I can dance and all that kind of stuff. But I'm really not attached to that shit. So I know a lot of people go for that as the Achilles heel and how to really piss me off, but it really doesn't do anything. It's got to be personal if you want to have me block you, you got to make it personal. Going with a race card, going with antiseptic or any of these remarks doesn't really do anything to me. Oh, that being said, if it becomes like serious shit, like you start, you know, wanting to dox me or attacking my family or anything like that, that's a whole nother thing. But name calling, who cares? Sticks and stones.
And conspiratorial cult horse crap, obviously. Well, one of the hilarious things that happens in this documentary is at a certain point, Sneako admits that the Manosphere is basically a giant scam.
Everybody in the Manosphere is just there are people online who are trying to make a buck, you know, selling ideologies, and people have heard all the talking points already. I think
that doesn't constitute a scam. I mean, if that's your definition of scam. So Sneako said that people in the Manosphere are simply they're trying to make $1. All right, so they're trying to profit. I mean, maybe from a leftist worldview, that would be considered to be a scam, simply trying to make money. But that's from a capitalist worldview, that's just the free market. They're trying to make money. The issue is when they are actually being fraudulent in what they're doing, and when they are selling something that they don't actually believe. That would be the issue that I think a lot of people take with what's going on in the Manosphere. If you watch the Louis Theroux documentary, there's a lack of integrity that you're seeing with content creators like HS TikToky or whatever he's called, you know, that on one hand advocates for being completely against some of the things that he's promoting, but then says, hey, look, I want to make money, I'm doing it. And there's a disconnect there. I mean, granted, look, you can do that, and there's no real violation of ethics here. I mean, you're not forcing anyone to put money into, you're not forcing anyone to by gunpoint, you know, or anything like that. There's no coercion. However, there is a lack of integrity if you are promoting something that you truly don't believe. And I think I wouldn't call that a scam, but that is definitely something that shows a lack of virtue, a lack of honor. And then, of course, you have people who are just simply trying to rip you off or actually scamming you in the sense that they are telling you that something is going to work, something is going to make you money, and they know it's not. And if you watch the documentary, there's some of that going on with the Manosphere space as well. And then the other dynamic, which I thought was really interesting, is how some of these figures like Myron, you know, Andrew Tate, who wasn't featured in the documentary, but you know they often promote this idea. I think Andrew Tate is more real about this dynamic, but how ultimately, you know, he has these relationships, these women love him, but it's transactional. I don't even think he says that these women love him, not in a true sense. They're simply being with someone because they can get something out of him. That's very transactional. And you have a look at the interaction that was going on with Myron's girl. And on one hand, Myron is the kind of person that says he can do whatever he wants. His girl packs condoms for him. He has this one-sided relationship where he goes and fucks whoever he wants. And, no criticism there. If you want to do that and everyone's on board with it, fair enough. But if you're promoting that and the reality or what happens is when your girl finds out that, look, this is your attitude and that you really just look at her as just another girl and you backtrack when you're asked about your relationship with her. I think Louis Theroux pushed Myron in the documentary in this scenario, right? It just makes you look like you are lacking integrity, and I don't want to be too harsh on these guys, because I can definitely relate to, wanting to you embellish things sometimes. Anytime I'm with my friends, right, and I'm telling a story, I always try to make it seem cooler, more entertaining, but I try to be consistent in my energy when I'm around people. Like I don't want to be telling someone one thing and then telling someone else something completely different. When it's an issue, when it's a situation dealing with my relationship towards them, and this is what comes across in the Manosphere, the lack of integrity. Anyway, I think that's the scam element that we are seeing at play.
The world got really crazy for a long time, but I think we're reaching a little more of a balance in terms of what's truthful and what's not.
But here's the thing. It's amazing. So he'll admit it. But then he participates in it. This stuff works. It works because a lot of young men are looking for an easy solution to life. They're looking for a shortcut. All this garbage works for the same reason the get six-pack in 2 weeks ads have a high click-through rate. The dream is more attractive than the reality. You don't actually want to watch the video that tells you need to count your calories and exercise regularly if you want the six-pack. You want to watch the video that tells you that if you just have this powder, then in 2 weeks, you will have a six-pack. That if you just try this.
Ben Shapiro sounds like someone that has never had a six-pack before. I just get that impression. It's actually not that hard to get a six-pack if you work consistently over time. But anyway.
Extreme fitness regimen, and you will look like a Greek god within 2 weeks. That's the stuff that gets the click-through. Now, the result is young men who emulate this junk. Here was Sneako walking around and getting recognized by middle school boys on the streets in New York, and you have to wonder, where are their parents?
Aura? What do you want me to... Are you mad that I could walk the streets all over the country alone without security and people show love?
That is actually pretty cool, man. I gotta admit, bro. That is something that I gotta put my hat, down here. That's impressive, man. It's one thing being a notorious figure, right? Like Donald Trump, all right? And Donald Trump, I think, is the most looked up man in the world. That he has, I'd say 60-70% of the world that absolutely hates him, right? There is going to be people that love you if you're famous. That's just unavoidable, right? But to have the kind of person that is ubiquitously just embraced, and look, I'm not saying Sneako is ubiquitously embraced, but to have that kind of freedom when you are where you are amount of the people, that's fucking cool, man. That was my favorite thing about this sounds quite tangential, right? But the whole idea of WCW wrestling, WWF, that kind of stuff, like seeing, these figures, like I remember there's a guy called the People's Champion, Diamond Dallas Page, I think that was his name, and he just had this attitude where he would just embrace the crowd, and you truly felt as if everyone loved him, like he could do no wrong kind of shit, and maybe this is me just getting all nostalgic over that, but it is really cool when you can actually say that. And I feel as if so many of these people can't. Because the reality is, if you're someone that is not living in integrity, right, and people just know that you're speaking shit, right, and you have things to be worried about, or in fairness, you're speaking the truth and you're doing it in a way where you're just not going to have a lot of people that take what you're serving because you're serving it in an ashtray of shit, right? That's on you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing if you're speaking the truth, but it's difficult. But if you can find a way to actually be someone and you can walk in the fire and then you can be embraced by the elements around you, that sounds pretty prolific. That is something to be proud of, and I respect that. And I get the impression that Sneako is one of these figures that's able to do that, and where many of these people have to worry about being assassinated 24/7.
You can't do that. If Ben Shapiro... I challenge you, this is horrible. Why don't you do that, Ben? Walk around in New York City alone, no security. How are people going to react to you? I don't want anybody to heckle him, but the reason he doesn't is because he knows that they will. because he platforms Benjamin Netanyahu because people think and believe, maybe rightfully so, that he's just a Mossad agent, that he's only using his platform to push Judeo-Christian values and pretend like he's on the same side while going on the Joe Rogan podcast and saying that Jesus, he was killed for his troubles and he was just a carpenter and Jesus was a liar and he was a faker. And he's openly disrespecting Jesus, the Messiah, the Savior, the prophet. That's the difference. You're going to get heckled, bro.
There is a lot of truth to what he's saying. I'm not agreeing with what Sneako is saying from the perspective that what he's saying is better. Actually, I do think what Sneako is saying is miles better than any of the stuff that Shapiro is saying. But I think if we're being honest about this, Ben Shapiro is generally hated a lot more by the community, not just in the United States, but I would say in general, other than maybe Israel, maybe some more pro-Israel countries than Sneako. And that's not necessarily an indication that you are on the right side of history. Absolutely not. A lot of the times, people that speak the truth about things get themselves killed. I mean, no one liked. Well, a lot of people did not like Martin Luther King when he was doing what he was doing. He was very unpopular. It wasn't until later on that people were able to see the tremendous truth force that guy was working under, and had a lot more reverence for him. But it is a hard thing to do, to speak the truth, walk the path, and then an even more difficult thing to be able to do that and get the support of your peers. But that being said, it is what it is.
Hey, what up, man? Watch out.
Did they succeed in their high school yearbooks?
How am I getting past that? A bit of war.
Well, how does this work out for the fans? Well, Theroux interviewed a couple of Justin Waller's fans. Justin Waller's another one of these types. And he asked them.
So, yeah, I mean, look, he tried to make me look bad. Kind of gave me some aura, bro. He kind of gave me some aura. I don't know. Thank you, Ben. Great look for me. The first mention on your show, and it's like, he said Satanists control the world, which ended up being true, and he's getting mobbed by fans in the documentary, and also he's not part of the Manosphere. Yeah. Thank you.
They're actually all good points. It's actually pretty cool to hear him say that kind of stuff. I think the Manosphere, what it is now, no one wants to be associated with that shit. That stuff was gross. You can be highly masculine and not be part of the Manosphere. I just see fraudulent lack of integrity when I see most of the figures in that. I kind of like Justin Waller. I think he's someone that walks the walk. I think that guy's cool. His company somewhat questionable. I mean, that being said. Look, I actually like Tristan Tate. I think Andrew is, and the thing about Andrew is he's so entertaining. He's such a good talker, but he truly is diabolical, and so he's so full of shit as well. And he's someone that I think is very much lacking integrity. But that being said, look, I also see a lot of virtue in some of these figures, and it's understandable why you'd want to hang out with some of them, I guess, if you're looking for entertainment. But it always reaches a point where you have to say, look, I don't know if this is worth it. If you're spending time with someone that is funny, entertaining, and believe me, I have so many friends like this, but they are constantly getting you involved in so much shit, you kind of have to bow out. At some point, you got to be like, bro, I can't hang out with you anymore. And I've had to make that call many times. I've done it recently. You get a sense of someone's character, and we all make that judgment. Yes, this person does this. I don't, just because I hang out with someone doesn't mean that I support everything they do. But and it's not even the fact that it's affecting you per se, because I consider myself to be incorrigible. I'm not influenced in terms of someone's behavior. I'm not influenced by their behavior in terms of how it's going to change me. That being said, if I'm hanging out with someone, their karma is going to come up and affect me. And listen, when you are living the kind of life that I'm sure a lot of these figures are living, and you're going to have to deal with a lot of trouble, you don't want to be adding any more stress, any more trouble to your life. And if you're hanging out with people that are full of shit, and it's different if you're hanging out with someone that is speaking the truth and you actually support what they're doing and they're getting into a lot of fire because of it. I respect people like that. I'm willing to get up and shield them because they are working in the flame of truth. However, when someone is just lacking integrity, and this is the vibe I get from Andrew Tate, it's kind of hard to justify hanging out with someone like that. Anyway,
I'm not even mad at that. What a bad hit piece. Yes, I'm not in the Manosphere. 3 years ago, I debated the Grand Wizard of the Manosphere and told him it was stupid that he said high-value men need vasectomies. And he crashed out, called me a douche nozzle. Yeah, the Manosphere is not something I'm a part of. You know, I guess there is an association because I was very critical of feminism and still am. But, you know, you could, you know, at 22, 23, you could say that I was part of that. But I've distanced myself for years now. And I'm not part of that, and it's not even accurate to put me in that category. And
I think much of the criticism that Sneako gets is that what he's saying is true. The issue is that he still spends time with a lot of these people that are, you know, and I'm not someone that's going to judge someone by the company that they keep if they are truly not supporting that person, right? And he very much is not. Like, he has many issues with Nick Fuentes, with Myron. However, you know, he keeps, you know, hangs out with these people. But I think a lot of people that are not as liberal with their sense of criticism in this sphere look at Sneako with a question mark. The fact that he's keeping the company of these people, he's hanging out with them, even though he doesn't support what they're advocating for, and their very goal is just not congruent with what he's advocating for. And that's tough, man. That's tough, you know, because, you know, you'll reach a point in this world, in your life, when you realize that you are never going to completely agree with everyone on everything. That's just not possible. So there's this mitigation that's always taking place in regards to, like, at what level are you cool with it, you know? And I don't want to. This is not an ethical thing to me. Everyone wants to make this into some kind of ethical thing. Oh, you're hanging out with him and he supports this and this. So fucking what? I don't support that. Like, this is people that do that kind of shit. Like, oh, why do you have friends that do? If I was the kind of person that only had friends with, I was only friends with people that did and agreed with everything that I look at as being moral and ethical, I would have no friends, obviously. And I think if we were truly being honest, that would apply to pretty much, if not everyone, the majority of people. And I'm not saying that as an argument as to why you should do it, you know, because, you know, you're not going to have any friends. I'm just saying that I don't see it as being an ethical issue. The only reason I make the decision to not hang out with someone is because of me. It's not because of anyone else. I keep my friends purely because I want to keep my friends. It's not out of any sense of ethics, sense of responsibility to the world. You know, I've had girls tell me, you know, in the past, like, oh, why are you hanging out with him? Oh, I can't be with someone that hangs out with. Go fuck yourself. Like, who the hell are you to tell me who I'm going to be? When it comes to friendship, to me, friendship is the masterpiece of life. No one, mother, father, son, daughter, wife, is ever going to dictate who I can spend time with. Now, they can help me make that decision, but I will make that decision 100% on my own. It's not an ethical thing. It doesn't concern anyone else but me. But if you make the decision to cut someone out of your life, that's something that you absolutely have the right to do. But I just find it annoying how people want to make this into some kind of like a moral virtue signaling thing where it's, oh, you're hanging in the company of this person, he's an idiot. Yeah, this person might be an idiot, but you know what? I like hanging out with him. Now, if I choose to do so, that's on me. But it's not this guilt through association game that people play is so retarded. You cannot be held responsible for the actions of other people. That's not how justice is supposed to work, unless, of course, you've adopted this morally relativistic, progressive stance, this consequentialist worldview where everything is everything and you're responsible for unintended consequences and so forth, which I absolutely do not subscribe to.
In that documentary, it showed it. So, Ben Shapiro, and someone actually had a similar response to, I saw Nick Fuentes was responding in a similar way to Ben, but XQC had something to say. Let's see if we can understand. Shout out to XQC.
Chat, I watched the Netflix documentary with the Manosphere, whatever, where these guys are in it, whatever. I have to be honest with you, I think it was a bad documentary. I think it was shit. I think he doesn't really challenge them that much, whatever, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And it feels like they posted because they had the footage and they spent money on it, but it doesn't say anything yet. Like, the documentary doesn't do anything yet. It
doesn't. What the? Look, his opinion. It wasn't like far out, kind of like, but if anything, it kind of showed the disconnect between what people, some of the content creators, the influencers in the Manosphere are saying and what they're actually doing, and how there's this incongruence with their words and their actions. And I think that speaks a lot. Now, granted, it wasn't kind of like a powerful, maybe there's one I got you moment, like the moment where Louis Theroux is asked by HS Tiki whatever his name is, right? Like, is Israel committing genocide? And, the silence spoke very loudly there. Couldn't say it. That was revealing. That was probably like a big moment. That was kind of like a got you moment kind of thing. But, there are many reasons as to why maybe that went down the way it did. But I think if we read into that, I think it's not as if Louis Theroux came out later on to say, actually, you know what, Israel is committing a genocide, and clarify that he could have done that in his documentary. And he did show that in the documentary. It wasn't like he hid it, but he clearly is not someone that's willing to speak out against it. And I could be wrong, but I'm inclined to think that he is in support of it. Israel has a right to defend itself, I would imagine would be his talking point. I could be wrong, but sometimes silence, I'm not one of these people that likes to infer meaning when someone has silence, but I think it's pretty obvious where Louis stands on this, and if I'm mistaken, I'm mistaken. But yeah, to say that the documentary was not that good, I mean, I disagree, man. I thought it was pretty good. But, when it comes to documentary, I've never really looked at documentaries as needing to have like a high level. They're not movies to me. They don't need to be outstanding. They just need to portray something that I can learn something from. I can go, yeah, what's going on. To me, it's kind of like something I can watch in the background. It doesn't need to be like, oh, There've only been a couple of documentaries that have done that to me. One would be Zeitgeist of Denim. That was pretty awesome. Kymatica, that's another good one. And yeah, but anyway, let's move on.
It just exists. It's kind of dog shit. And I watched it. Like, also, I have to be honest with you, a lot of these guys made themselves look really bad on that documentary. Like,
what the fuck did he just say? Kissy is rambling sometimes is so unintelligible, or is it just me? That's what it was on the documentary. He has some weird. What is his nationality? I'm curious. Sometimes it's just kind of like an accent thing or some weird speech impediment. But I mean, it's not like you can't understand him, but he just has like a weird way of communicating sometimes. But anyway, I might have that. It's always different depending on who you are. Some people can't understand me. They think I sound Blackanese or something.
I think they tried to make Sneako look bad, and they just looked like they were like self-trolling it. Like Sneako was trolling them, and he didn't get it, and they posted it like they weren't getting trolled, and they just looked really stupid. Like, that's one thing of the documentary that I saw. Myron looked pretty stupid. He kind of said,
Myron looked like someone that was incongruent with what he was saying and how he was behaving. Like, and it was like he seemed as if he was truly trying to own it and was not fazed by anything. But the meta vibe that I got was that here's a man that is trying to act one way and it was understandable, because he obviously on a level. What I love so much about that is that his girl, ex-girl, was saying that there's a softer side to him. He doesn't see all this stuff that you hear from Myron when you're listening to his podcast. There's always a softer side to someone, and I think that applies with all of us. The way that the best version of me is when I'm around dogs, when I'm around animals. I'm like, they can do no wrong, like animals, little kids, right? It's like, yeah, but obviously we're all different around different people. So it's understandable that on one hand, people get a very different version of Myron when he's, on the podcast, and then his girl experiences a completely different side there. That's understandable. And like, it's easy for us to say, oh, well, this guy's lacking integrity here, but there just seemed to be such a big void between some of the claims that he was making and his relationship. And I think that's what you're going to run into, though, when you're trying to do this this whole kind of like, I'm fucking gangster, and I have all of these relationships, right, with all these women. They're all on board and everything that I'm doing. I don't think, and this has just been my experience. The women that seem to be on board with that kind of stuff, I mean, if they are, it's more of a cultural thing. There are some women that actually are. Like polygamy was something that was widespread in much of the world. It's something that's only been more recent within Christendom, but for much of the world, a long time ago, not even that long ago, it was a thing. And I think it wasn't that uncommon for the whole jealousy thing. That wasn't something that was widespread. I've heard a lot of African women speak about how that's like a white invention of women getting jealous about the whole, oh, your husband has many wives, that kind of thing. But I think society as it is now, most women are going to get frustrated, feel some sense of jealousy with that kind of stuff. And then you have some women also that just are cool with the idea of their man doing anything provided they get money, provided they're getting paid. You know, they're the people that have this mentality, transactional relationships. You know, that's like, as long as you have lots of money, right? There doesn't need to be any physical attraction. There doesn't need to be any kind of like storge. This is the Plato version of love that deals with that filial connection that you have towards someone, right? There doesn't need to be any kind of real kind of affection, as long as it's the kind of love where you're getting something in return. You're getting money. You're cool with that. And if it's a physical dynamic, I mean, a woman can obviously get that sex from an attractive woman can get sex from anyone they want. And the only thing that really sustains that on a monogamous level is the soulful kind of connection, or the connection that is beyond that kind of physical component. So I find, these are generally the categories that you find. You know, either a woman that has been brought into this society where she's cool with it, or a woman that wants a transactional relationship. But to find a woman that is not going to be jealous when you were doing that, when you were having multiple partners and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be this one-sided monogamy, that's something that doesn't generally apply. I could be wrong, and of course, this is something that is subject to society. Anytime we are speaking about these generalities, I want to make it very, very clear that human nature is very malleable. Our nature is not to be constrained by nature. So when I'm speaking about norms, I'm speaking about what is at present, generally speaking. And it's one of these topics that is so easy to skew because it's constantly changing. Things are never, I mean, people say that, you know, it's this way, it is this way maybe right now, but maybe in 100 years' time, women will like guys with small penises and like guys that have no money and like guys that have no virtue. Maybe that's in fashion. And who's to say it won't be in fashion?
He left himself wide open. Chat, I watched it.
Shout out to XQC. He's a smart guy. XQC is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. You know, he's been doing this for a long time, so obviously he's got to be pretty smart, but I think people mainly see him as a gamer. But he's right. I was trolling because I knew what Louis Theroux wanted. I was actually surprised that the rest of the people in the documentary didn't approach it that way. You know what he's doing. He's a liberal. You know it's going to be a hit piece. He's not going to be favorable about the Manosphere. And he realized in my interview that I'm not part of this, but I knew that he wanted to get some content. So I'm like, okay, you want some content? He's going to be pushing back against the conspiracy thing that Satanists control the world. So I leaned into it. You know, I'm talking about hadith, about the end of times. I'm talking about the one-eye symbolism, stuff that people consider to be conspiracy theories, but they always end up being true. So when you talk about the Antichrist a year ago, like, oh, that's crazy. And then you see what this war is really about. You're like, oh, wait, it actually is about the Dajjal. Then the Epstein files released. Okay, wait, Epstein represented the Rothschilds. These people are Satanists. They control the central bank system. Oh, wait, this is kind of true. So, but I was leaning into it because I knew he wanted to do that pushback, right? This is how liberals debate. They just go, they just do like the shocked, horrified face, like the Kamala Harris. So I'm like, yeah, so, huh? No.
That was a pretty cool moment, by the way. When Sneako in the documentary kind of just laid out what he actually thinks. I think Louis Theroux said something like, you actually believe that? And Sneako's like, yeah, so fucking base. And, you know, I respect that. That Sneako's probably one of the few people who can actually just say shit and I mean, I don't think he's very knowledgeable in regards to really what's going on in regards to the high levels of power, all that kind of stuff. Like, he kind of has this cookie cutter understanding of it. Oh, it's satanic. It's the Jews. And a lot of that is true. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that he's willing to own it and he doesn't feel the need to capitulate to, you know, people that are shocked by it. Like, oh my God, how could you think that? Because I do. I mean, and he will actually lend himself to a better argument if you can make a better argument. But he is someone that is very base. And I find that so refreshing.
Knowing that he's going to get triggered and he's going to put that in there, but ended up being right and making him believe that he was the smart one in that interaction without compromising You know, because he's asking me, do you think Satan's control? Yeah, absolutely. Instead of giving a nuanced response, I gave him the content that I knew he would use in there. And also, I'm not surprised that Louis Theroux cut out the debate I had about transgenderism with him because he got crushed. You know, it's probably, it's not in there.
Ooh, that would have been... Actually, I don't even enjoy hearing debates like that. It's stupid. It's like arguing with someone that believes 1 + 1 is equal to 3. It's like, I'm not having this conversation. You know, and some people, oh, you just don't want to have a conversation because you know you're wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. You know, there are some conversations that you just, you know, don't get caught up in. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Some arguments are too stupid to get caught up in, and I think it's a stupid conversation to have. That 3 conversations I don't have anymore: flat Earth, transgender, and UFOs. If you're someone that thinks that the Earth is flat, you have no idea what's going on in the world. If you think that there are, you know, there are multiple different sexes and someone can be trans and all that kind of stuff, anyway. I'm not going to go there. And if you are so ignorant in regards to what's been going on over the last, you know, several decades in regards to Black Ops, regards to the, you know, the programs covering up information dealing with the United States government and other governments around the world actually possessing UAPs, UFOs, then you just don't know what's going on. And like I just don't have the time in order to get caught up arguing with people that are too ignorant to enter these discussions. And it's of course, it comes across as arrogant, but that's the thing, you know, as Bruce Lee said, you know, if I'm honest with you, you know, you'll think I'm arrogant. And alternatively, I'm just going to end up lying to you if I tell you that something is when it's not. So best thing to do is just to avoid these conversations, I find.
He has the footage. He's not going to release it. But there was a really funny debate where we're talking about Gorlock the Destroyer. But I would love to talk to Louis Theroux. I DM'd him earlier. I did your documentary. I gave you content. I didn't stream any of it. He came into my home in New York. I think that'd be a great conversation because he thinks I'm wrong. Based off our DMs, he thinks that I am wrong about that. I would love to have that convo. So another thing, this is resurfaced, or this just, I saw this about, but I think the main people that they're talking about, well, they're talking equally about that guy, HS, Justin Waller, and Myron a lot about their ideas about, you know, cam girl pimping and one-way monogamy relationships. But, you know, I don't even want to, okay, well, let's just see this quickly.
I really think in a weird way I have to thank Louis Theroux because somehow his questions kind of like made me question myself and the future of everything, and that is something that I truly hadn't done before, not like deeply like I did after that, and part of it was his doing, so there is that.
I don't need a